I just want to make sure you're not going out of focus. Alright, that's good. Don't worry, I wasn't recording or anything.
Lies. Hi there.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to introduce
Chris
the show.
here with the trainer extraordinaire, Bethany Wilson. She's
Hey,
too busy
everyone.
drinking her coffee to introduce me, so I'll introduce myself.
Hey everyone, Bethany Wilson here from Ruff Beginnings Rehab, and this is my assistant, Chris Davison. Hope you guys are all having a good week, ready for the weekend, and yeah, let's get started. We are at number 17. Can you believe it?
I can.
You can? So we're getting this one out a little bit late. I was going to just wait and post it next week, but I wanted to get this out to you guys as soon as possible. This one has been sick with a sinus infection.
Oh my god.
So we weren't able to do it in a timely manner.
I like how she blames everything on me.
It's always something with
Is that a woman thing? Do they just blame everything on the husband? Okay. Joke.
I think we should get to the questions.
Okay. Number 1 says, hi there. Hi back. Just wondering if you have any tips on separation anxiety. We have a 4-month-old puppy, and when we are with her, her stools are solid, but when we are away at work for the day, she has loose stools and they are liquidy when we are away. We have a calming collar for her and a thunder shirt, but they don't seem to be effective. Do you have any suggestions, or have you come across this before? Lindsay Forsyth.
I know. I put the last name in there because I was like, do you know William Forsythe?
He's a buddy of ours, so I don't know.
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah. Anyway.
A buddy of ours that we haven't spoken
to in like 2 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, William. I'm sure he's probably not watching this video at all, but
No.
yeah.
We tried to call you. You changed your number. What happened?
He's like, delete, and delete. Don't want to talk to them. Delete.
Block.
block.
No name people.
So.
All right. Sorry. Anyway, Lindsay. Okay. So yes, there's a couple things that I want you to do. Chris, why don't you tell Lindsay how I feel about calming collars?
Whenever she talks about him, this calm air just kind of fills the room.
Really? Because I thought it was more like anger.
Sorry, it's me doing the calmness, trying to do away with your anger.
Okay, so I have an issue with calming collars. You can absolutely use them. I'm not picking on you, I swear, but I just I have an issue with calming collars if it's the type that I think it is, which is the one that has a really strong scent that is supposed to calm your dog. I want you to think about a dog that or any dog. Whenever we cook soup, for instance, we smell soup, chicken, beef broth, vegetables. That's usually the extent of what we smell. Maybe some garlic. When dogs smell soup, they smell carrots, oregano, potatoes, beef, celery, salt. I mean, just everything broken down. And those calming collars, when they're fresh out of the whatever package, they are so overwhelming that sometimes they will overwhelm the dog into kind of a type of submission. But then when that scent goes away, then you have to get a new one. No, Lola, quit picking on him. Get over here. Did you see her doing the stare off with Henry? Sorry. She's a feisty little Pomeranian. What happens is it just wears off, and then it doesn't have any effect, and you have to get a new one. But it's just really overwhelming for some dogs. Now, I do know some dogs the thunder shirt works on, and some dogs it doesn't. I've had experience with that myself. I've used it a few times myself, and sometimes nothing, and sometimes something.
It worked on Happy during the 4th of July.
It did. Yep,
when she
was really young.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. So, and then I've used it on other dogs with anxiety issues and nothing. So it's hit or miss. Lola, come here. Come on. Why are you picking on Henry? He has been so good. Hasn't even tried to eat you. He's a gigantic dog that came in here aggressive. You were so lucky. Making googly eyes at him. All right.
She walks up to him and goes up on her back legs like this. Like
she does it to all dogs. All dogs.
Wants the dogs to scratch
her down.
He wants them to scratch her stomach. I don't quite understand what she's doing.
Here, sit and be a good dog.
Oh, there she goes. See, that's what she does to dogs. Yeah.
He won't do that to you. He's like this close to just taking your little head off. No, he's not really. He's actually doing really great. So sorry about the sorry about that. Anyway, so that's how I feel about those things. I do have a problem with it. Sometimes when people, not to get too into it, but you can use scent to calm down a dog, but it's for training, not to just put on the dog and then leave them, because then they start to associate lavender with being left alone. So there is no calming effect. So when it comes to your thunder shirt, I would suggest that the dog also wear your thunder shirt sometimes when you're home. Otherwise, if it is doing any good, even a little bit, and you don't realize it, it definitely won't after a while, because he'll only associate the thunder shirt with you leaving. So there always has to be some level of training involved in it. You have to associate that scent, that something, with something else. And my experience with calming collars is that they are just an overload on the senses for dogs. So I don't recommend those. That's just my personal opinion. So now let's get to proactive stuff and not me complaining about shortcuts. The first thing I want you to do is go on YouTube and type in Jeff Gellman, Gellman, from Solid Canine Training, and type in separation anxiety. He's got a long video. It's 13 ways to reduce separation anxiety. And some of the things will be hard for you to do because it's a puppy, not an older dog, but you still need to see that video. And that's not even really training. That's just that's not even proactive working on separation anxiety. That's just in general how to help a dog who has it or try to prevent it. It just goes over stuff, not giving too much affection, things like that. So a 4-month-old puppy, I don't see like a specific breed, but any puppies get too much attention. So I know I can go ahead and tell you, stop giving your puppy so much attention when you're home, because that's what makes it so hard for the dog, is that they get so much hands-on when you're home, and then you're gone, and that creates anxiety. So I would suggest for the next 2 to 4 weeks, and I know how difficult that is, but that dog only gets affection when you're working with him, when you're working on come, when you're working on place, sit down, when you're out on a walk and he comes to you when you ask him, whenever he sees a leaf that he wants to chase, that's when you give affection, and maybe just a few minutes of like a little bit of cuddle in the evening, and that's it, that really is it. So definitely no affection before you leave in the morning, all business. Because think of it this way, even just going, bye, we'll be back, something like that, it creates, what? So, and then you just shut the crate door on an excited dog, even if it's just a little excitement and you can't even hardly tell. So be business, be firm, be matter of fact, and I know it feels cold and heartless, but that's what you have to do to help him understand this is no big deal. We go through this every day. You got to get used to it, just to help him cope. Honestly, it'll help him cope better. Other things you can try is, let's see, I'm trying to see. It's not a ton of info. Play the radio. And don't play it super, super soft jazz. I mean, play like speaking level radio. That way, because during the day, he might finally be settling down to sleep, and then a noise wake him up, and then he gets stressed out all over again. So play the radio. Classic rock.
Your little AC/DC, little Def Leppard.
At speaking level, not soft. That way trigger noises don't make him, active. You can also, if he doesn't chew stuff to like eat it, ingest it, you can cover the crate, and cover it with something dark with that won't create any shadows. That's really about it, other than watch that video that I gave you, because that video that I mentioned is going to be everything that I would say, and it would take me 20 minutes, and that would barely give you a head start. Make sure you've seen my crate videos, so the dog doesn't bolt out of the crate, and you can even work on the dog going in the crate, down, break, crate, down, break, crate, down, break, and you can do that low key even with food if you want. You know, this is food, by the way. This is me feeding food. Good, you know, treat.
It's a
or
good thing she
kibble.
didn't become a mime, right? I don't think you make any money.
Be a dog trainer mime. We've got to stop doing these at night because we get so off kilter. But that's one of the things I would do. Also, I've got 2 videos that I'm going to link below for you. It's just calming videos, and it's what I'm talking about. It's patterning, in case you're not already doing that. And a 4-month-old dog can absolutely start learning what's in those calming videos. It won't look as clean, but you can absolutely start learning that. I'll link those down below for you, okay, in the info section. Yeah, and that's about it, Lindsay. There's a lot of other things you can do too, but I think that gives you just a really good start, a really good idea of where to start. And you could try something like adding a little bit of pumpkin to his food, you know, to help with the stool issue. But yeah, it's not uncommon if that's what you're asking, especially with a puppy, because they tend to be needy by nature, which you want to use for training, right? Because that's going to go out the window when they hit adolescence. So you want to get that foundation for training, but you don't want to overdo it and be too affectionate and too hands-on and in the lap too much. Or, I mean, at this point, I wouldn't do that at all. I really wouldn't. And I know the emotion side of you is like, oh, but that's why I got a puppy. Like, well, now you need to do what's best for the puppy and back off. Yeah. Because all that access to personal space and then you leave, it can be rough. Oh, and another thing is, you know, I'm curious, you know, how long is that puppy alone? Because you don't say anything about a dog walker. Most of the time, all the time, I do not suggest puppies be alone for 8 hours while you go to work. So if that's the case, you need to maybe have, it's just a puppy, so you could have a neighbor or something like that. Maybe check in on the puppy midday.
Like a potty break or something.
Potty break. I mean, even 15 minutes makes a huge difference. Yeah. And I know dog walkers aren't cheap, but that's another huge thing I would suggest, because that can be really tough on a young dog. Yep. All right, next.
Moving on.
Hope that helps.
Next question, number 2, writes, hello, I just recently subscribed to your videos and I couldn't seem to find a tip video for the aggression towards children. I recently purchased a 9-month-old Pomeranian puppy for my son. The dog is very protective over me, and every time my son comes around, she growls, shows her teeth. My son has wanted a dog for years, and I feel like I'm going to have a nightmare of a problem if I don't get something quick to fix this. I've been correcting her by making her go to her crate for a few minutes. When I allow her to come out, and if she is nice, I give her a treat. A lot of times, I have my son reward her with treats if she is behaving well. But every now and then, I feel scared she's going to lunge toward his face one day.
You should, because he will.
I don't know what to do. Do you have a tip video that would help? Also, I can't get her to stop pulling and barking at people and dogs. Shannon.
Okay, so you have a huge issue here. And this dog is only 9 months old, so things are only going to get worse, not better. She's just making her bed. See, look.
I know.
It's hard to know where to start. I mean, here's the thing. A 9-month-old dog, that's not a puppy, that's an adolescent puppy. So it's very different than a puppy 5 months old and under. Sending the dog to the crate for a few minutes, that's not a correction. A correction is knock it off.
Ow.
I mean, I don't hate your dog, but I mean, a correction is something that snaps the dog out of the moment, not go to your crate for a few minutes. A crate should be a place of calm and cool. All you're doing is removing the dog from the situation instead of addressing the issue. So yeah, it's not going to get any better. That's the kind of thing that sometimes people do with dogs like 12 weeks old and under. Like the dog jumps on the kid, no, crate for a few minutes, dog comes out of crate, jumps on the kid, crate for a few minutes. It's not like a big reprimand, it's just like a redirect, and they do that about 100 times and maybe the dog won't jump anymore. Some dogs will be sensitive to that type of timeout, but it's usually only young puppies. You have to correct your dog. You have to get that dog on a leash and actually pop that leash and say no. I have tons of videos on just how to pop a dog. You can look at leash reactive videos, you know, dog aggression, leash reactive videos. I would get that Pomeranian on a prong and e-collar right away. But here's the thing, and I don't want to prejudge your skills, Nancy, but just the fact that you thought that a correction would be sending, you know, telling the dog no and sending it to the crate for a few minutes with a correction makes me think that you probably wouldn't be ready to commit to something like e-collar training, because e-collar training is the ultimate freedom. It's what I do. It's all over my Facebook page. That's what we work on every day, is correcting the bad behavior and then creating positive reinforcement around whatever the issue was initially. If you watch any of my videos on Facebook, that's what they all are every day. And this is a Facebook one. So so there's that, and you can absolutely find tons of how-to videos. I have a few on my YouTube channel. You go to playlist. You can check out Sean O'Shea from The Good Dog. You can check out Jeff Gelman from Solid Canine Training. They all have tons of e-collar how-to videos. It doesn't matter that you don't see them do a lot of small dogs. It's the same on small dogs. But let's say you don't want to do that. I totally get it. You can start with a prong collar, and you just get a 2.5 on Amazon, Herm Springer. It's still going to be a little on the large side, but you can get a micro mini prong, but they're very expensive and from a specialty place called Leerburg.com, Leerburg. So if you don't have any financial issues, you could go to Leerburg.com, get a micro mini prong, and I would do a couple things. One is set that dog up to fail. So the kid comes in, Pomeranian is on the floor. They should never have any couch bed access ever until it stops behaving like a big jerk. So the Pomeranian's on the floor, and you, I need a leash. Give me a leash. I don't have a leash, hang on. Actually, I'm gonna make sure it's still filming anyway. Grab hold. Oh. So that Pomeranian's on the floor, and kid comes up. The first sign of a growl is a no.
You want me to growl?
Growl.
Grr.
No. You should get that.
As all the dogs are like,
I know, we have
we're like surrounded
in
by
here.
dogs. They're like all like staring at me now.
So only when the dog starts consistently not reacting, and instead it's more like, I'm not reacting. Because the reason the dog is reacting is because you've put it in a position to protect you, and it's insecure. So when you correct, it's going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to be corrected again, and it's going to look nervous and fearful. It should. It should be fearful of going after your son, and it's going to be fearful because it's insecure in the first place, so you actually get to the root of the behavior. Only when it stops reacting consistently can you use food to build the positive association, right? First, you have to squash that bad behavior. Done for. That's one aspect of this. But it's really not fair to the dog to just correct him. It's really not fair. You've got more work to do than that. It needs to be waiting at thresholds, sleeping in a crate, no access to furniture, no access to constant personal space. I would not pet that dog again at all until it stopped going after my kid. You got to really think about, priorities here. And I'm not trying to be like, even though it kind of looks like it. It's just, this is a serious issue that little dogs get away with, and I can't stand it. Like, I spend a lot of time being a therapist for a lot of families because they've dealt with issues like this for sometimes years or more, where the kids are totally alienated from, it is usually the mom, but sometimes the dad too. I've had a couple of those. But it's ridiculous. Or the dog just gets stuck in the backyard all the time. But this is a Pomeranian, so that's not going to happen. So my point is just this is a big deal. It's a big deal. There are no videos on it because no one wants to set up a situation where a dog starts to go after a kid, and then you correct the dog, and the dog is like, oh my God, and then you build the positive association up. That's why nobody wants to do that. That's why that's not out there, just to be perfectly honest. No one wants to do that. So that's my advice to you, is you have to correct the behavior. Honestly, Jeff Gelman from Solid Canine Training, He does Periscopes, which is just an app for the smartphone. He uses his kids with kid reactive dogs all the time. We don't have active kids to deal with that here, so we don't have that much. We use dogs instead to create stuff like that. But that's why. What's wrong? You look like something's wrong.
Just trying to see if it's kind of fuzzy a little bit.
Well, tap on my face. Probably because you got up.
I think no, it's the way the light's hitting. I think.
So that's what I would say is really put that dog on lockdown. I mean, I would, unless I was working on come or place command, and teach that dog to stay in a bed. And I have tons of videos on that. It's all about the structure. It's like that dog feels you've put that dog in a position to make those decisions, and it's bad decisions. That's why he's reacting on walks now as well. So you have to correct on walks. Let me give you, just to give you even more info for the prong collar, go to YouTube and type in Tyler Muto, M-U-T-O, prong collar 1 and prong collar 2. I'm guessing you've probably never used a prong, and it looks really scary, but it's the best tool to use, bar none. It puts no direct pressure on the trachea, and it'll teach you why it was designed the way it's designed and how to use it. So you can first teach your dog the basics. Once your dog understands place command and down and all that stuff, then you can set up the situation with your son, because that's just... And I would actually go ahead and do it and just correct that dog and let that dog know that that is never acceptable to behave that way. Ever. That kind of stuff makes me mad. It really does. I've just seen it just really work some horrible things with families, and it just breaks my heart. So that's what I would do. The other aspect of that is just to keep in touch with me, and you can keep asking me specific questions along the way. If you want one more tidbit, I would also go on Amazon.com and type in pet corrector. It comes in a red can. It squirts out air. You could also do that as well. If you want to read up more on the prong and do some training with the prong first and get comfortable with it, then you could still just clip a leash to that dog's flat collar, still pop her or him, and go with a squirt of air and just surprise him and say no. See if that might be strong enough. It could be a really sensitive puppy and just hasn't been told no properly. That could be enough to be like, okay, I will never growl at your kid again. So you can try that as well. All right, I hope that helps. I'm really sorry about your situation, but yeah, just keep me posted.
In the loop?
In the loop. Keep me in the loop. Let me know, Nancy. I hope that helps.
That wasn't Nancy, that was Shannon.
That was Shannon. I'm sorry. I hope that helps, Shannon. Nancy's next. I'm sorry.
Nancy is next.
I'm so sorry.
Nancy writes, "Hi Bethany, I have a question about walking my dog. I have a 6-month-old female Boston Terrier. I try to walk her twice a day and incorporate some training into the walk. She does pretty well overall, but the main issue I have with her is her excitement level. When she sees other dogs or people on the walk, she gets so excited and wants to go up to everyone and every dog that we run into. I try to keep her calm by holding her back and putting her in a sit, but she's not cooperating. And when I don't give her her way, she will pitch a fit by jumping on me and grabbing hold of her leash. What am I doing wrong, and how can I get her to behave better around these situations?"
Well, that sounds like a Boston Terrier, the redirect onto the leash. I want you to watch my dog reactivity video. It's a part 1, and part 2, it's leash aggression dog reactivity video. I'm going to link it down below for you. Actually, I'm going to make a note of that so I don't forget. Sorry. Link, dog reactive video. It has a brief, part 2 has a brief section in there with a Boston Terrier. And he had the issue, he did that to people too, not as severely to people, more severely to dogs, to where it eventually turned into an aggression, but it wasn't really aggression, it was just so amped up. Anyway, it's prong collar training. So I've got some prong collar how-to videos. Watch them. They are good. They're good. But they're not fully comprehensive. Like I don't start it. This is a prong collar, and this is why they're awesome. So go to Tyler Muto, M-U-T-O, because he does do that. He explains prong collar 1 and prong collar 2. He explains a really gentle way to train with the prong collar, which is great for newbies. And I'm considering you a newbie, unless you're already using a prong or a slip leash. And then prong collar 1 teaches you about the prong itself and why they're awesome. That's what I would start with. 6-month-old, you still use lots of food. I wouldn't be feeding that dog breakfast or dinner. If it doesn't eat on the walks, then it doesn't eat at all. So it's not like you're starving him or not giving him food. You're offering it to him. But if he's so excited by being outside that he can't focus, that's his own fault. Within a couple days, if that, he'll be hungry and you'll get so much more focus and be able to build those good experiences way faster. I know it's hard for people to commit to that, but do it. Use the dog's daily kibble, not just treats. The other thing is stop trying to control the dog. Did you mention one of the things she said, or notice one of the things she said, hold the dog back?
Yeah, I did that. I saw that too.
So if you're in an altercation with someone,
An
altercation, and someone comes up, some dude comes up behind you and is like,
hold me back, man.
Chill
Hold
out,
me
man.
back. Hold me
Exactly.
back.
That's what it creates, right? He's laughing, but that's what it creates. When someone holds you back, especially like if that dog's on a harness and he feels that physical pressure, it creates a need to pull or push through it, right? And it creates more drive.
When you have that adrenaline going and someone's pushing back against you, you're gonna push back against them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening here.
And not just that, but it's also positive reinforcement. When you are physically trying to hold a dog in any way, even if you're just like grabbing a harness or a leash around the neck, even if you don't mean physically holding the dog, because I've seen that, even if you just mean grabbing the leash or the collar or something like that, it's the same thing. They're still pulling and you're creating this fight. And even if it helps the dog settle down, it's positive reinforcement because you're putting so much on the dog. So the dog is like, when I act crazy, Mom's comes down to my level and grabs me. So you don't want any of that. You just want to correct it and tell him no and then redirect him, right? But sometimes, especially with a 6-month-old, did she say the breed? I don't think so. Do you remember? You scrolled down
Boston
already.
Terrier?
Oh yeah, Boston Terrier. Okay, yeah. So they're kind of like Tasmanian devils. You remember some of the Boston Terriers we've had?
I do.
They can be a little nutty. So sometimes correction, they come right back through it and they're like right back at it and it doesn't even do anything. So do lots of redirecting with food, and instead of trying to control the dog, make the dog sit, calm the dog down, try recalls off of stuff. So you're only on a 6-foot, dog goes out, and then recall the dog back and move backwards. Be like, dog's name, come, good pop, get his attention, and then you have food, and you run backwards, don't fall on your butt on the sidewalk, good, come, and then sit, then food if they'll take it. So try doing recalls as well, give lots of space, and you just need to work on settling that dog down. Make sure your thresholds are really good, that he's not just, that's what you need to look at too, is look at my prong collar on thresholds. I pattern over and over and over again until the dog is nice and settled. It's possible that this dog is like, I can't wait to go outside. And so he might be waiting, you might have him sit and he might be waiting, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Are you laughing at him creeping forward?
No, I'm laughing at you
At
with
me?
your little Boston Terrier impersonation.
I'm a Boston Terrier impersonation. Do you remember Vader with the blue eye and the brown eye?
Yes.
I think he's the one on the video that I'm talking about. He was just like this all the time. That was like his permanent state. Good luck. I hope that helps. Let me know how it goes. Nancy.
Number 4.
Are we on number 4?
Yep.
Oh, so that wasn't Nancy.
Yeah, that was Nancy.
It was Nancy.
It was Nancy.
I'm so mixed up with the names today.
Oh,
Number 4.
Number 4 writes, "Hi Bethany, me and my boyfriend Jonathan are huge fans of yours." Well, isn't it nice to have fans?
Mm-hmm. I get like 100 watches on this, and I have a fan.
Wow. No one cares about good old Chris.
Nope.
Thank you for your advice about our now 11-week-old German Shepherd puppy, Bethany, because we're big fans of yours.
Let it go. Let it go.
I wanted to ask you about about reducing the excitement of mealtime, particularly breakfast. He waits at the crate door, doesn't bolt, but is invited out. However, when he gets outside the crate, he wants to go straight to the kitchen and is very overexcited. I had to water spray him this morning for being too mouthy when putting his collar on. He waits at thresholds and walks pretty much on heel on most of the 5 to 8 minute walk. However, When he knows we are coming home, he starts to pull. Again, waiting at thresholds, then bolts to his crate. I make him wait for his food, moving the bowl up and down till he is calm, though he will still be watching the bowl. On the release word, he demolishes the food, even in a slow feeder. When he is done, he whines and paces, looking for more food. I know we're doing something wrong, but any advice would be really appreciated. Thank you so much, Emma.
Okay, I don't know if you're doing something wrong. I think maybe there's just, he's maybe a little more high maintenance in a few different ways. Okay, so I actually made notes for this one because there's just a few things that I want to make sure I touch on for this one. First thing is, and this is a huge thing we do for board and trains, is we leash them up in the crate. Because we make them stop at every threshold. They stop at the threshold from the crate door, the office. They go nice and slow through the hallway with us, and then out into the living room, and then front door, and then potty. Now, your puppy's too young to be so incredibly structured, but at least that will prevent the burst out right into the kitchen. The dog will stay relatively with you, even though he'll be pulling, of course. But you can try to just, especially now he's in the habit of running out, but you can try to get some focus, maybe take food with you right away and try to do some redirecting as soon as he comes out of the crate. But so if he's waiting in the crate, if I don't think 11-week-old, so you guys aren't on prong collar yet, but just take a slip leash or take his normal leash that's clipped to his collar or a harness. If he's still wearing a harness, it's hard to get that on in the crate. So just loop it around and loop it around his neck. And then when you invite him out, you immediately give him a little pop. Let him know that it's there, and just try to slow him down in general. No more of that, that bursting out. He's like all the time. If he's that bad, if he's as bad as kind of we make it sound, he should never be able to do that again for like the next 3 months, maybe longer. I mean, you've really got to put a stop to that because it could be really adding to the drive for the food. The other thing is, so because he's a German Shepherd, I would at least, if he's really pushy and not sensitive, he's 11 weeks old. By the time you see us, he'll be 12. You could go ahead and get him on a 2.5 Hermspringer prong collar. And there's a really great, slow, comprehensive way to teach prong. Tyler Muto, M-U-T-O. Boy, today's the prong collar episode. Prong collar 1, prong collar 2. Type that into Google or YouTube. And it's a really slow, comprehensive way with food to teach it. If that feels like a little much to you or you think he might be overwhelmed by that, get what I call them puppy prongs. So they're plastic training collars. So you can go into Amazon and probably type in training collar or plastic training collar, and it's just a plastic prong, and get a small and start with that. That'll at least give you a little more leverage, and I think you definitely need at least a little more leverage. Because a slip leash he'd probably just choke himself out on. Mouthiness with the collar, so that'll help with that because you'll go ahead and slip that on in the crate. It's normal though, like even when you reach into the crate, he'll be like, that's normal. Just tell him no, give him a little poke to the side and be like no, and he'll probably just be like, he'll probably just read, and they're just playful. It's 11 weeks old. If it's really bad though, like if it's worse than you make it sound, if it's really bad, you can use a pet corrector, which is a squirt of air. Or just be ready with your water bottle. I'm not a fan of water bottles. They're too big. It's too intrusive. And it leaves a lasting feeling and scent on the dog. I prefer pet correctors, which is just a squirt of air that you can get on Amazon or at any pet store. And you aim for the chest or the shoulder area. Just a quick no. You don't do a long squirt. It's just you keep it sharp so it surprises the dog. And they're like, oh my God. I know we got to quit doing these night ones. I'm getting goofy and sidetracked.
I still have to work after this.
I know. Well, so do I.
Okay.
I got to work with that Shih Tzu puppy. Okay. So for the walk, pulling on the way back is very, very normal for puppies. That's why I think you need the training collar. So I don't know what you're doing to try to prevent that, but one of the things you can do is just do constant recalls. Let the dog go out, hit the end of the leash, and then just say the dog's name and come. Use food on the walk. If the dog is too overwhelmed on the walk and won't take food, have it skip a few meals. He's so food driven, he should really quickly take food on the walk rather than be concerned about getting back in the house, because I'm sure he wants to be fed and it's that drive. So start using his kibble, not treats, just his kibble on the walk. If you've got time, like I don't know what your schedule is, but like during a board and train, puppies get all of their kibble throughout the day. And I might only do 4 sessions with them. So that could be morning, afternoon during lunch, right after work, later evening. I know the pooping schedule's all over the place, but you feed them their kibble as you work with them in the house, on recalls, on place, on down, all that good stuff.
Once it's gone for the day.
Yeah. And get away from the bowl for a while. No more whining, no more carrying on in the bedroom, in the kitchen. Put it more on a schedule. So if it's not crated, oh, he's sleeping. He's probably chasing a
Lead his nose.
Squirrel.
Watch his nose.
Got a Labrador, and boy, his nose is he's sleeping. He's going crazy. You know, it's not fun for them if I don't like pick the camera up and show them. So can we get back?
Sorry.
No more night ones. No more night shoots. More of a lockdown, where if he's out of his crate, he's working, or in place. Well, he's too young to stay in place for a long time, so he's working. He's out for a walk, or working on obedience, or he's in his crate. And that's another thing too. You said 8-minute walk for 11-week-old German Shepherd. That's nothing. So you gotta up the walks. The other thing is 11-week-old puppies, German Shepherd puppies, they're hungry, right? So I'm wondering how much you're feeding him. Just because you're feeding him what the bag says, that may not be enough for him. He may need a little more. The other thing is, up until they're about, well, everybody's going to tell you something kind of different, but 5-6 months old, they have 3 meals a day, morning, afternoon, night. So that's something else that he might need. He might not be getting the nutrition that he needs, or he might just be a really food-driven dog. I don't know, but I just want to point that out in case you guys didn't know that, because not all vets if you're a new dog owner, will point that out, that some puppies can be fed twice a day, but a lot of puppies need, especially big dogs, 3 meals a day is ideal. So that could be part of it too. Yeah, he's reaching an age where he needs longer walks. One more thing. When you're doing the up and down, try to work, if you can't do the food, working all day long, which I understand that's tough. It's a lot of puppy food. I give like a handful of kibble for stuff because it's a lot of puppy food. But try to wait for eye contact before you release him. And make sure you're being extra strict with dogs that are really, really food driven. I don't even want them going one step towards the food. I want to take it all the way to them. So they're sitting or they're laying down, and I bring it all the way under their nose. So we do the up and down, and then it's break or okay or take it or whatever it is. So I go all the way to them. I don't want.
You're mine. Remind me.
You stop making fun of me tonight. I've had it. I'm trying to get through this. It's 11 o'clock at night. Can we stop?
No.
Can you stop?
No.
So
Never.
I want you to give it all the way to him in case you're not doing that. I don't want him to take one step towards that food bowl. And I think that's about it for now. I'm sure there's definitely some other little tweaks that you could do, but I think that's enough. And I need to move on. And let me know if you have any questions and how that works, because it's not going to completely solve your problem, but it'll help. Another thing is, make sure that dog is dragging around a leash in the house. So it can be on a flat collar or on a harness. Yeah, he's going to chew it, but big deal. As soon as he steps in that kitchen and starts whining, no, pop of the leash. And then, ooh, look, a toy. So it's like you correct the bad behavior, then you redirect with puppies. You don't just correct and tell them to go to place and lay down for 2 hours, because they can't do that yet. And you don't want to just correct. And you can't just use positive reinforcement to redirect, because that just blows their mind too, especially a driven working dog. So it's a no, pop, come out of the kitchen, then ooh, look, a toy, then redirect. All right, no, then redirect.
Next question is from Leah McKenzie. Leah writes, "Hi there, I've recently come across your YouTube channel and your videos have helped me so much. However, I have got a problem with 2 of my dogs. I have a 1-year-old male border collie and a 4-year-old male cocker spaniel. They have been getting into fights, which my Border Collie starts as he's possessive of me and will attack my Cocker Spaniel, who has been left feeling nervous and insecure whenever him and the Border Collie are in the same room.
I bet.
It was a lot worse before they were both neutered and seems to have calmed down a lot since then, but they have still gotten into a fight and I can't have them both off leash with me or any family member in the same room as both of them. Do you have any videos or advice on how I can fix this problem? It would be very helpful to me. I'm already working on e-collar obedience with my Border Collie. If that helps, thanks.
Yes, that helps. That's awesome, Leah. I don't know if you started working on e-collar because of me or if you found me through, like, there's kind of like a little network of us that kind of do the same type of training. So I don't know if you found me through just me or through Sean O'Shea at The Good Dog. You need to also write in to him. Like, he does a Q&A show as well. Write in the exact same question to him. Get him and Laura's perspective. Same thing with Jeff Gelman out in Rhode Island, Solid Canine Training. He does tons. Go to his Facebook. He talks about this stuff all the time. They actually are bigger than I am and probably spend more time explaining things like this, the why, the how, than I do, because I don't got time because I gotta work still. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, it's good to get, all different well-rounded ideas. Okay, or people saying the same thing in different ways, it really helps. So anyway, yeah, this is a huge problem. So I've got good news and bad news. The good news is you're awesome and already on e-collar, so you're already way ahead of the game, because otherwise I would have been like, e-collar, you need to go to these places, figure out how to use it, and come back to me. So you're already doing that. Bad news is a house with previous issues of aggression, whether it's towards a human in the house or another dog, especially the dog. Actually, in my experience, the human aggression is actually easier to stop. When there's two dogs with issues, oh, it's hard. It's hard, Leah. It's hard. So you sound super committed. Sometimes I get people who are like, I need to get rid of one dog. So you sound really committed, and I'm sure you probably already know you're in for the long haul, but just so you know, you're in for the long haul. You could be a trainer. You could be me. You could be Sean O'Shea. You could be anyone. And this, I don't want to say always, but this will be something you'll be watching for a very long time. You will always have to be more structured with your Border Collie because of this previous strong issue. You'll always have to be more on top of him and more in tune with his, how he's feeling and reacting. Always have that e-collar on him. Always be watching this. My issue with my Border Collie is squirrels. He'll go 3-4 months with no issues, and then all of a sudden, he's trying to climb a tree. Even though I've corrected him on high a few times and created a strong inhibition. We'll get kind of lax, not do as many structured walks because I'm busy with everybody else's dogs, and we'll spend a week just going to the park and playing fetch with 0 structured walks. And then that's what happens. That's the outcome of that, is all of a sudden he's trying to climb a tree. And it's because of I slack off, basically. Okay, so two things is two major things to start off with is that Border Collie ought to be on lockdown. What I mean by lockdown, it's actually a term I've heard from Laura Morgan, so I can't take credit for it. But what I mean by lockdown is if that Border Collie is not crated, it should always be in place command working. Sleeping, but working. By place command, hopefully you know what that means. It means go to your bed, lay down, and just exist and watch the world go by. You need to proof that, and once you've proofed it with the e-collar, correct at high levels for getting up. You don't even have to work with the Cocker Spaniel right away. Work with door knocking, work with the Border Collie watching a ball roll by, which causes our Border Collie to be like, life sucks. He hates it. For months, and we've had him almost a year, and for months, every day he has to sit in place because I'm working with other dogs with the ball, and he has to just sit there and watch it roll by. So all those things are really good impulse control things to start with before you start working on the Cocker Spaniel. But that Border Collie can have no free roaming, Leah. Like it started protecting you, so it can have no access to your personal space. None, unless you're working on heel or recalls or working with the dog, because it feels the need to protect you. Zero affection, no free access in the home or free access to come up to you and demand attention. And no furniture, of course. I know that sounds so harsh, but you've got to think about it the way the Border Collie is thinking about it. It's so tough for dogs nowadays. I mean, when I grew up, we had farm dogs. There were very clear boundaries. It was so clear to the dog what the dog's role was. We loved them, we pet them, but at the end of the night, they slept outside. And I would never have dogs outside now. I could never imagine it. But those dogs were more balanced than some of the dogs we've even, worked with of our own.
Yeah.
Not that we're anything special, but it's hard for dogs to have, they live where you live. Our little dog, Happy, having constant access to personal space. She has anxiety issues. She's 10 years old. She doesn't have very many anymore. But she really went through a rough time in the beginning because she was an anxious dog. And if we coddled that at all, it made her more anxious because it's just too much freedom. So I want your Border Collie to just completely know his place. Well, he already has really bad habits. So in order to do that, in order to find balance, you have to counteract the beginning, however many months or years that you've had this bad situation. So I'm going to say a minimum, it's going to be longer than this, but a minimum, give me 30 days, Leah, 30 days of lockdown. No affection, except maybe a little when you're working, maybe working a little with food, but don't work with food a lot. God, I was in like a serious, awesome moment, and you kill it.
I didn't do anything.
Stop! I'm like on it. This is serious stuff now. I was like focused, and now you killed it. Stupid phone. It was his phone. So see, totally. See, I lost my groove. I was in such a groove.
Lockdown.
I know, but so
30 days.
Stop it.
Ow.
It takes a human 30 days to build a new habit. A dog, because they don't rationalize, they don't have all that fuzz going on, between their thoughts. It can take even longer, and they can bounce back so quickly. So my hope is that you'll give me at least 30 days of what I said, and then come back to me and tell me how things have improved, or maybe they haven't, but they will. But tell me, tell me how things have improved. Plus, just like working out or starting a new, way of eating or something like that, it's encouraging, right? If you commit to a small period of time and you do it, and then you see weight loss or muscles or whatever, it encourages you to continue to do it, and you're going to need to continue to do this for a while. It'll also build confidence in your Cocker Spaniel as well, seeing that you're putting limitations on the Border Collie. It will build confidence with the Cocker Spaniel. I would literally be right here, and I would have my Border Collie over there in place command with the e-collar, and I don't know, maybe his correction level is at 30, maybe for door knocking and stuff. If he gets up and you're at 30, he's like, okay, it's a quick lay back down. So maybe you're at a 30. I would practice. I would keep my Cocker Spaniel on a leash just for safety. I would tether the Border Collie definitely for safety, and I would practice every day. My Cocker Spaniel coming up to me, and I would have the e-collar, and I'd be like, hello, Cocker Spaniel. Oh, you're so cute, I love you. You're so cute, I love you. And I would watch that Border Collie's reaction. And if there was so much as a... I'm sorry, I don't put up with that crap. I do not put up with that attitude. It's bad attitude. So 30 is actually way too low for that. If he actually snarls or something, it's way too low. If he just gets off a place, then you can be lower and reset him. But if he has any aggressive reaction, very, very high. By the way, that was just my part 1. Now there's part 2. This is the tough part. If you've already, if you feel like your Border Collie understands the e-collar, that if you say sit and he doesn't sit, and you're at like a 4 or 5, and you just say sit and repeat, and he sits, and he knows, he understands. If you put him in place command and you knock on the door and he pops up, and you just say no and hit him at like a low level, like under 10, if that's like a working level for him, and he resets himself without you having to go and do it, he's starting to understand the e-collar. He understands what it works at a low level. When he understands what it works, how it works, if my dog went after one of my other dogs, I would set up, I would try to set up a scenario or always be ready. The Border Collie would always be tethered for safety, tethered to something safe. So just a slip leash around the neck, tethered to something, or flat collar, or prong, tethered on a prong. And then my Cocker Spaniel would be on leash just for safety, so I could quickly grab him and do something if I needed. And I would try to set up a few scenarios where that dog reacted. And I would have it on high. And I would hold it down for a few seconds. And no, it does not feel good. And that's why there are no videos on this. And very few people will tell you this. Because do I want my dog to be afraid to bite my other dog? Darn right I do.
Yeah.
Darn right I do. I have no problem with that whatsoever. If you want a few seconds of, we'll say, extreme discomfort, to not have to work, to really just be able to work on foundation work and not have to worry about that for months, because you will probably have to do it a couple of times, and then as you start to challenge more and more, it might come up again. But yes, and are you going to get a moment of, oh my God, and maybe the Border Collie might even look at the Cocker Spaniel like, oh my God, did that dog just do that to me? That'll wear off. As you continue to do the foundation work and continue to teach your Border Collie how to coexist with the Cocker Spaniel, all of that will wear off. We do it every day here. That's it. A really common myth is that you don't correct a dog like that. You don't do it, because then he'll hate the Cocker Spaniel. That's just not the case. What happens is sometimes they'll get nervous or fearful and they'll start to associate it with the Cocker Spaniel. So what happens is they just didn't realize it was because they acted like a big jerk, right? So that just takes time. You continue to do your foundation work, you continue to help them coexist, and all that melts away, and they learn the reason why it happened in the first place, okay? That's what happens. Just to give you an example, now when we go to the park, and Dusty sees a squirrel, he looks away. It's like, squirrel? What squirrel? He has not learned to coexist with squirrels, I'm ashamed to say. I'm not sure how we'll ever get to that point. But your dog will. Your dog absolutely will, because it's something he has to live with daily. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. But here's if you're new to this, here's a quick tip. If they're ever engaged in fighting, like they're actually in it, don't use the e-collar. Don't do it, because yeah, it could escalate. It could escalate. The e-collar is for catching them early. You know, now don't get me wrong, if I'm working with a dog on leash and they're lashing out, rah, 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 I can correct them most likely, and they'll come back to me, they'll settle down and come back to me. But it's different if two dogs are actually in it. So don't use your e-collar for that. Don't do it. You always want to catch things early. That's a lot of info to digest, Leah. And you might not even like everything you heard, and I'm sorry, but you asked me what I would do, and that's what I would do. Make sure you're doing all the foundation work, stopping at thresholds, slow to come out of crate, slow to go into crate. I have tons of videos on calm patterning, even though they're not necessarily e-collar videos, they're just with slip leashes. It's the same thing. Like if you're doing place command, don't just tell your dog to go to place, because if he's a Border Collie, he's probably like, place, lay down, what's next? That's how ours is. So make him pause in front of place command. Like walk up to it, pause, then place. I actually have a video right now on Facebook from a couple days ago of a Shih Tzu and doing that very same thing. He's a puppy, he's so motivated to jump place to place and place to place, but he's wild. He's barking at people coming in, and he's getting resource guarding. So we're trying to slow his life down drastically, and that's one of the ways. So think about all those ways that you can really slow that Border Collie's life down. And if you're not watching Sean O'Shea at The Good Dog, his how-to videos on e-collar training, or Jeff Gelman at Solid Canine Training, you should be, because they have way more videos on e-collar than I do. Yes, they do. See? E-collar. Yes, they do. Oh, yes. All right, Leah. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Hope that gives you some things to think about. Just make sure when you do those high corrections, if you decide to, I'm telling you, it's for the benefit of the dog, because it'll allow you to start to really work around the Cocker Spaniel once you get that out of the way. But once you just make sure you're set up in a really safe scenario, especially because that Border Collie might go, yep, And then the Cocker Spaniel might want to, you know, go right in there and be like, what was that about? You don't want that either. So make sure it's a controlled situation and that you try to set up.
Cool.
All right. Woo!
Number 6. Moving on. Number 6 writes, hi Bethany, thank you so much for your videos. They really helped us with our 9-week-old German Shepherd dog puppy. He's doing well now with the sits and downs, and we have started to proof them outside. We were having problems with his biting, and when he gets overexcited, whenever you put a hand near him when he's in the state, he snaps at it. We're trying to use the blocking from your video, but that can result in him getting more excited. Are you available to train via Skype sessions? If so, please let me know how much it costs and how I can arrange this. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
I'm getting the bath.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing about that video with that Boston Terrier is I get half emails, questions. Oh my God, this video is so amazing. We've never seen anything like it. Finally, someone, you know, did this and showed us how to do it. This is working great. And then the other half is what you said, is that, oh, my dog is still escalating. What am I doing wrong? It's causing more excitement. And so that's normal. So your dog isn't taking you seriously. That's just what it is. And it's a German Shepherd, so I'm not surprised. Your dog is not taking you seriously. I mean, I'm not going to toot my own horn. It is so much easier for a trainer with no emotional history to come in and be able to do that kind of stuff. And the dog believes me because they have no reason not to. You know what I mean? They might still push my buttons, but like I know what I'm gonna do, you know, and I come in with that attitude. And I haven't pet the dog or coddled with the dog or let the dog kind of ask me for affection, stuff like that. So it's a very different relationship. So yes, you know, you're not in the minority there. It's really about half and half that I get, oh my God, this is great, and this causes escalation. So one of the ways you counteract that is you still can do the same thing. How old is your puppy now? 9 weeks old. Okay, yeah. So it's really common, 9-week-old puppy. That puppy in the video, I think, was 12 to 16 weeks old, and that does make a huge difference. There's more adult on him, more focus, more drive. 9 weeks old, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So first of all, it's really, really normal. Don't stress out about it. It's a 9-week-old puppy. It sucks. Some of it he'll grow out of. Some of it you might need to work on a little bit because German Shepherds can be mouthy in general, even through life. They can be snappy when they get excited, but I'm not saying don't work on it. I'm just saying don't stress about it yet. The other side of this is go ahead and put a leash on that dog. Go ahead, if he's on a harness, it can be a harness. And so when you have like a backup. So like when you block the dog, you also have a leash and you can give him a little pop and say no. Another thing I would like you to do, if it's really bad, if he comes up, mouths you, and you block him and he mouths you again, pet corrector. Amazon.com, type in pet corrector. It squirts out air. It's a little red can. Do really quick, fast squirts, not long squirts. It'll scare the dog initially, but it gives you, it gives you a moment of, what was that? And then you can redirect. So it's like no, squirt, and the dog is like, oh my God. Make sure the dog is on leash so it doesn't run under the couch or something and not come out, because that's always fun. Happens occasionally. Not usually to German Shepherds, but other breeds, sometimes it will. But, and then it's like, no, and then you just say sit and redirect really quickly, and then, ooh, look, a toy, throw. And then you redirect it to something else so it doesn't just come back and mouth you again, because that's what it will do if you don't give it something to do. Also, I just want to make sure there's a couple things you're doing. You know, definitely, I think that Jonathan, I think this is someone we spoke to before, answered a question before, I think. If I'm wrong, just ignore me. But another thing you can do is just make sure you're not physically handling the dog a lot, because sometimes they just get annoyed with that. They would rather be playing or walking or learning, and they don't want to be handled a lot, and they'll get mouthier and mouthier. If that's what's happening, and he mouths you and you block him and he mouths you again, that's your error, okay? So if you're going up to pet the dog and it gets mouthy, and then you say no, block it, and it gets mouthy again, you need to stop petting the dog so much. You need to wait till he's so tired. Like there's certain times of day when puppies will just pass out. That's when you can cuddle them a little bit. As soon as they get mouthy, just say no and then put them in their crate. You know, don't make a big deal about it because you started that. Because they're giving you a very clear sign that they would rather do something active or they don't want to be bothered. And in the beginning, you want to respect that a little bit. If it gets bad, you know, as they get older, that's different. But if that's the case, he's letting you know that he would rather be active than be pet, and that's not uncommon. With retriever breeds and herding breeds, that's pretty normal. He snaps. Is that it? We're trying to use. Oh yeah, and also just the snap, like especially if it's an air snap, just an act of defiance. It's like a kid throwing a little fit in a candy store. He's like, oh. You know, it's just drama. Don't draw too much attention to it if it's not physically, you know, coming at you. And if it's causing zoomies, where the dog, like, you crack the dog and the dog's like, argh, and then he zooms around, stop that with having a leash on the dog. Just clip to a flat collar or on his harness, whatever you're walking him on. Because you don't want that either. You're making it louder.
No,
Stop it.
She hit the...
Yeah, you did.
Oh, Happy did when she walked by.
Oh, Happy did. Our computer charger is actually making noises, which is really comforting. Just what we need to have to replace. But that's something you can do, is have a leash on the dog. I would also kind of like to know a little bit more context as far as when is this happening, and then I could probably help you a little bit more. Okay, so yes, I do Skype sessions. I do have a lighter week next week. So if you really think that this is an issue, that's a big issue, and you want more help on, we could absolutely set something up. Is it next week, the lighter week?
I don't know.
August.
Yes.
Yeah,
no,
August 1st.
First
yeah.
week in August, right?
So I'm going to focus on videos and stuff like that, yeah. So yes, if you're really committed to that, let me know, and we'll go from there. Last but not least.
Last question.
I'm not sure how to pronounce the name.
Is from Duyan.
Duyan?
I think so.
Duyan? Sorry if it's wrong.
The dog's name is Bin Bin.
Bin Bin. Oh, it's Pomeranian.
Pomeranian, yeah. The question is... let's see, that's not the question.
Oh, sorry. I just got a puppy.
Alright. The question says, I just got a puppy and I am training him to go toilet and on the puppy pad. However, he chews his puppy pad every time. If I put him in the playpen with a puppy pad cover around, he will chew and eat the pad. How can I puppy pad train him?
Okay, so I got some bad news for you. I don't puppy pad train puppies. I have them as a backup while I'm potty training the dog for outside. So I can't help you there. I'm not a fan. Like, the idea actually kind of grosses me out. So I only do it in the beginning. 4 months old tops, and my dogs are going outside. Now, with small dogs, it can be more difficult. With our Maltese, who you guys saw earlier in the video, she's 9, 10 years old now, but we did have to leave puppy pads with her longer than 4 months, just when we were gone. But when we were home, we were always actively taking her out enough so she did not go inside. So I can't really help you with this, but I do know the answer to your question. Puppies chew things. They love paper. They love plastic. It's fun. It rips apart just like toys. It's easier to rip apart than toys. There is no getting the dog out of it. I mean, you could try to say no, but when you're gone, it's still going to have some fun and rip it to shreds. It's a puppy. Even if you have toys in there, it's more fun to rip up the paper. Dogs love paper. Tissues, toilet paper.
Used tissues.
Happy loves toilet paper. When she was little, she'd run in there and steal it, pull it off.
Or you'd come home and it'd be like, it'd all be off the roll on the floor, and I'd be like, oh.
She did that one time when she was really young, like around 5, 6 months old.
You were in Hawaii for a week working,
Yep.
and you would come home from work and be like, oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah. He sent me a photo. So my point is that this is a really common, problem. It's not a problem, it's just a puppy. So this is what I would suggest. If you want to do something, inside and something like this, they have trays that you can stick the little tabs you can stick the puppy pads on, like plastic trays. Puppy's still probably gonna rip that off too. Probably just be more fun for her. I would suggest maybe doing something. They have these really cool little pet potty boxes now with actual soil and grass if you're trying to do like a patio thing, which I understand that's cool. You know, opt for one of those. You can even do like replacement grass. I think there's a friend of mine online, she did like, I think it was like a 25 or 35 bucks a month off Amazon. It's like you have to buy this initial big box and then they send you like this thin thing of grass and soil every month that you replace. Yeah. Or you can get the plastic version, which I'm not a fan of either. Those are gross. They start to smell too.
Or you can just take your dog outside.
But yeah, but if it's an apartment and it's a Pomeranian and there's a balcony, it is a great option.
Okay.
But don't do puppy pads. Do something else. That's just my personal opinion. I wish I could be more help, but I mean, they grow out of it or they don't and they continue to have fun with it.
Yep.
I wish we could be more help for Ben. Sorry, but hopefully that gives you some ideas.
All right.
And it's time for dun 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 dun.
Superman.
No, that was not. Superman is like this.
Oh.
This is Bethany.
Okay. It's time for quote of the day.
Quote of the day.
Quote of the day is: there are two types of pain in this world: pain that hurts you, and pain that changes you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you. Or me. Spousal pain.
Well, that's a completely different topic.
Say it again.
Yeah.
Repeat it. Because usually I repeat it, but you repeat it since I ruined it.
There are two types of pain in this world: pain that hurts you, and pain that changes you. Oh, I think you're all quiet.
I know. I'm contemplating. Like, I'm thinking about it. It's a good one. It's good. You always find good ones.
Pain that hurts you or pain that changes you?
It's hard.
Well, pain...
Change is so hard.
It is. But pain is a necessity of life. It's part of life. And you learn from it. And a lot of times pain does hurt, right?
Yeah. Physical or mental. But
you learn from it, and then you adapt to it, and then you move on. Hopefully.
People who are successful are able to.
You're able to compartmentalize what's going on and use it to your advantage and figure out what to make changes to so it doesn't happen again. So I think pain that hurts you is actually pain that changes you. So in a good way, hopefully in a good way. Oh, this is I chose a doozy.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Like, there's so many ways you could go with it.
There is. I like to go with the positive route. With just
not me. I immediately go for like.
I like to go for the positive route. Again, things don't work out always the way you want them to. In life's relationships, jobs, friendships, training your dog. Whatever it is, and sometimes it can hurt your feelings. Whatever it is, but you learn to adapt to that, and you figure out what happened, and to lead you to that situation, and then you hopefully it doesn't happen again, and you just move on, and you can hopefully better yourself and move forward. It's just kind of like with everything else. Pretty much every quote always comes out to the same ending.
Yeah. This is huge actually in dog training. Huge. I've actually had, and I'm not making fun of anyone who's done this. I swear I'm not. I'm just pointing out how emotional animals are in the United States. As far as I've had people cry when I've been like, okay, if I'm going to fix these problems for you and teach you how to continue to do that, before you can find balance, you have to be super strict. No petting, no cuddling, no blah, blah, blah. And I've had people cry. I mean, change is so hard. And we use animals for a lot of emotional reasons, myself as well. I mean, I have to mentally, especially with our little dog Happy, years ago when she had all these behavioral issues that actually started me on this path, us on this path. I mean, it was so hard. There was no coddling and holding because she was such a wreck. Yeah. And we had to stop doing that. We were putting so much emotional stress on her and we didn't even know. And it's like you have to do what's best for your kids, for your dogs, and change is hard. Change is hard. But the thing is that most of the time, if you change with it, if you don't hold on to it and you actually change with it, you come out so much better on the other end.
Yep.
It's amazing how that works, but it's also amazing how incredibly difficult it is.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yep. I agree.
All right, everyone. That was a very thought-provoking show. We had a lot of good stuff in that show, actually. So I'm going to get this out to you guys ASAP, and we will see you next week.
Next week. Adios.
Bye, guys.